Joe Biden.
At the forefront of politics.
Our enemy is Trump. He is the enemy. We gotta unite. If we're not a united party, we lose to Trump.
On the front lines of activism.
There's certain fights, if we don't engage, they win. This is a fundamental question of who we are.
And delivering your daily dose of comedy.
Donald Trump, when he had his physical, they had his blood pressure, and mine is higher than his. Oh. And the irony is mine is higher because of him.
From the blue wave.
We flipped. Enough seats to take control of the House. We control the House.
To 2020 and beyond. This is the Dean Obeidallah Show on Sirius XM Progress, Channel 127.
And welcome to the show, brothers and sisters. Friday, November 29th. That's right, it's Black Friday, but we are live. I'm here, Dean Obeidallah. We're live for the next 3 hours. A lot to cover, as always. There's no holidays in the time of Trump, my friends. Who knows how many laws he breaks per day? That's why we're here, to call it out for you. The magic number is now 340. 340 days to the most important election of our lives. And less than that, less than 2 months, actually 2 months and a few days to be completely accurate, for the Iowa caucus. And by the time we come back next week, it's going to be 2 months. And things are moving fast. I hope you had a good Thanksgiving. Hope you had some fun with your family. I saw my sister. I appreciate people who email me saying it was nice to hear my sister on the show Wednesday, who she's a psychologist and sort of gave advice for not fighting at Thanksgiving. I don't know, did turkey fly on Thanksgiving at your house? I mean, that's the only bird that can't fly on its own, but given Trump supporters, maybe there could have been some. I don't know. We didn't have those fights in our family, but a lot of tension. This is a stressful time. And I know there's also a sense among Democrats that concern about beating Trump in 2020. And that concern should never leave you. And I know it's because over Thanksgiving, discussing with people, I can sense it. And then today, BET founder Robert Johnson, and I'll play a clip, voiced that even more. And I think there's a sense that because we're not seeing our 2020 candidates, they're getting overwhelmed, not personally, but in terms of media coverage by impeachment. We're not hearing from them much. All we're hearing is Trump, and people are wondering, oh, is Trump going to win this all? First, you should never take this for granted. Winning in 2020 is hard inherently because an incumbent president has not lost re-election since 1992. I mean, that's how hard it is. It is very challenging to beat an incumbent president. Doesn't matter Trump or not. It's just difficult. Americans know one name. They might not know the other name. They might not be following closely. Things are going pretty good in their lives. They just go and vote. Or the ones who could be active against it just don't care anymore, not engaged, don't come out, don't think their vote matters. There's so many reasons. But incumbents tend to win over and over. This time's going to be different. And it's going to be up to us. But I want to talk about something. Here's BET founder Robert Johnson, who earlier in the summer, let's preface it by this. He's a Democrat. He's been a Democrat for decades. But in the summer, he expressed concern that our field of Democrats, the leading ones at least, were too progressive and not moderate enough to win. Now, meanwhile, Joe Biden was leading, and no one would argue he's too progressive. But I think it's a sense of just fear that perhaps Trump's going to win, and I'm just fearful. And I think that's part of, here's the comments today. These are not the older ones. This is him today on what we have to do. Let's hear clip number 2, please.
You take a look at what President Trump has done in the last several months, particularly the conversation surrounding the U.S.-China trade spat. Is this his to lose, do you think?
I think the president has always been in a position where it's his to lose, based on he's bringing a sort of a disruptive force into what would be called political norms. I don't care whether it's the way he conducts foreign policy, the way he takes on the government agencies, and what he deals with immigration. he brings his style. Now, a lot of people, particularly those who voted for him and those who will vote for him again in the next election, like that style. I think what the Democrats have to do is to be careful not to get caught up in stylistic Trump and more in substantive Trump.
And I think he makes a good point there, Robert Johnson, in that the substance has to be what we're talking about more, not, and I mean that specifically the 2020 candidates. The Democrats in the House should talk about and focus on Donald Trump's corruption. That's what impeachment's about, his corruption. But what I'd like to hear more from the 2020 Democrats are about the key issues. And a Reuters poll came out Tuesday, and I'm glad we had a little time. It was downtime, and got to look at that poll and look at the top issues among registered voters across America. That's a pretty good poll, Reuters. They give you a sense of what Americans are thinking. What do you think the number one issue was for all Americans? Unsurprising, I imagine you're going to say healthcare. You're right. 22% of Americans say healthcare. When you break it down, it's kind of interesting. Democrats and independents solidly say healthcare is number one. Republicans, healthcare is not number one because they don't care about helping fellow Americans. And I mean that bluntly. They don't. It's more survival of the fittest, so they don't care if you suffer or die. They care about their own. So their number one issue is immigration for Republicans. The rest of America, for independents, only 10% say immigration is important, 6% of Democrats, but over 20% of Republicans say the number one issue is immigration, and that's really white supremacy. But overall, all Americans, healthcare is first, and then the economy. When you put together concerns about the economy versus together with concerns about jobs, it comes in second place. And those are the two issues, and those are the issues that we need our 2020 Democrats talking about. Because I can tell you this, first of all, I am sick and tired of our Democrats ceding the economy issue to Donald Trump. But first, let's talk about healthcare, because that's really easy. Healthcare, poll after poll shows Americans believe Democrats are better equipped and have a better record at handling healthcare. Republicans much lower. So when polls say, who do you trust with healthcare? Democrats. And that makes all the sense in the world. I mean, we're the party that gave America Medicare. We're the party that gave the country Social Security under FDR. And I know it's not Medicare per se, but it's the idea of helping people. And of course, the ACA is Democrats. And what have the Republicans given? Let's be blunt. I mean, let's just be objective. What have the Republicans in modern day given? Tax cuts for the wealthy. That's all they're known for. Nothing else. Rolling back regulations. That's it. And what I want the Democrats to do and to make this argument, and obviously what I'm leading to is I want to get your reaction to this, is every discussion about Medicare for all, every discussion about public option, and what's better and what's not, has to conclude or begin or in the middle or somewhere reminding Americans that right now Donald Trump and over 20 Republican attorney generals are in federal court trying to strike down the entire ACA, and they have no backup plan because Trump was so focused, as we know, on overturning everything President Obama did. He is still in federal court right now arguing to end the ACA. And I want the Democrats to talk about specifically the benefits of the ACA and what is going on and make the case to Americans. Do you like the fact that you and your family can get coverage for pre-existing health conditions? If you do, vote for Democrats. Donald Trump's trying to end that for you. Or they can frame it any way they want. Do you know Trump's trying to get rid of it? We're not. We're fighting to keep it. Talk about the other benefits of the ACA that don't get a lot of coverage, but I think are so vitally important. Do you like that insurance companies can no longer drop you when you're sick? Because pre-ACA folks, that's what would happen. You would get sick and they would not renew your policy. Done. You're gone. Well, you can thank a Democrat for that. Do you like the idea that your children can stay on your policy until they're 26? Well, thank the Democrats. Donald Trump is trying to end that as we speak. Women of America, do you like the fact you're no longer charged a penalty for being a woman for health insurance? To remind you, before the ACA, women paid $1 billion more collectively each year for the identical health plans of men. It was a gender discrimination because they would assume women might get pregnant and factor in things. That's done. So women, do you like gender equality in your health insurance? Well, if you do, thank Democrats and be aware Donald Trump's trying to end it right now. Do you like the fact that there's no longer annual or lifetime caps in your insurance policies? Well, if you do, thank Democrats and be aware Trump is trying to end it. And you get the idea. Go through it all. Free annual physicals. Do you like that? Do you like the fact we have less uninsured in America because Medicaid's expanded? And if you go, how does it affect me? Because you're a selfish person. It affects you because it means less uninsured people are going to ERs and getting care, which the rest of us pay for because they don't have insurance. So it affects all the costs. If you like any of those benefits, and I think it's so important Democrats make the case that right now on health care, it is such a winner for us. Americans trust us with health care. It's the issue that is number one in the country. So you have it's a perfect storm there, folks. It's the number one issue and Americans trust it. We're the ones fighting for it. And Donald Trump is fighting to end it. And how many times have you heard at our 2020 Democratic debates, Democrats mention that Trump is right now trying to end it? Once in a while. I've had on numerous Democratic presidential candidates and brought this up to them in a plea to get them to focus on saying this on stage. They can say it any way they want. They can go to their consultants and focus group, but I don't know what the best way to frame it is, but I know what the issue is. So that's number one. Second, the economy, my friends. The Democrats have to stop ceding the battlefield on the economy and let Trump go around the world and tell everyone the economy is so great. Look, you cannot tell someone the economy is better than it is, nor can you tell them it is worse than it is. But what you can tell them is that regardless how you feel about the economy, Trump made grand promises about how great the economy would be. But we are not there. In fact, here's Donald Trump yesterday. He surprise trip to Afghanistan. I have to ask, was it a surprise for him? Like, did he get on the plane thinking he was flying to golf somewhere? And they're like, oh, it's a little longer. Oh, you're in Afghanistan. So here is Trump in Afghanistan yesterday. And listen, he talks about the idea of I'm here to send one message to you. And what's that message? He brags about the economy. That's all he talks about. And so much of this is misleading people. It's inaccurate at times. Sometimes it's accurate, but it's half a story. So I want to clear it up for you. I want to deconstruct where we are in the economy. And I want Democrats to make the case. First, here's Trump yesterday. Clip number 12 we'll jump down to.
We flew 8,331 miles to be here tonight for one simple reason, to tell you in person that this Thanksgiving is a special Thanksgiving. We're doing so well. Our country is the strongest economically it's ever been. We have never done so well. We have the greatest economy anywhere in the world. So it's nice to know that you're fighting for something that is doing well as opposed to something that was not doing well just a number of years ago. Our stock markets reached the highest level ever in the history of the exchanges, all three. If you look, all three. It's incredible. It's incredible what's happening. It just broke a record. I think it's close to 130 days, so we're less than 3 years. And 130 times we've broken the all-time record. And to me, that doesn't mean an all-time record. It means something different. It means jobs. It means 401ks. People come up to me with their 401ks. They say, sir, you've made me look like a genius. Thank you very much.
Now, he's standing in front of our troops, and if you watch their face, they just have no idea what's going on because he said, I am here to give you a message. And what does he do? He uses that knowing the media is going to focus on it to brag about the economy. Let's talk about the economy, really. And I also want to hear from you. What's the economy like where you live? Here's the truth of the economy. Because Donald Trump wants it to seem like we were in a depression and he came in and saved us. That's not true at all. When President Obama left, we had 75 straight months of job growth. Under Obama, employment had been falling. It began and it continued to fall almost everything after Obama. Once we got out of the Great Recession, it continued to fall. When Trump took office, to give you a little sense here, in January 2017, Donald Trump takes office. Unemployment is at 4.7%. Where is it now 3 years later? 3.6%. It's come down about a point in 3 years. But Trump wants you to think he did all of this. He brought it down 1 point, folks. President Obama brought it down from about 10% down to where it is now. And that's not the full story. The unemployment rate is not the full story. What about the labor participation rate, which is simply how many people are either working or looking for jobs at the same time? And this rate gives you a sense of those who are unemployed for long term, if they get a sense there's jobs out there. So the labor participation rate measures that. When Trump took over, the labor participation rate of Americans working or looking for work, 62.9%. Where is it now 3 years later? 62.9% before. How much more do you think it went up? Because Trump tells you jobs, the economy is amazing, unemployment the lowest, stock market hitting new highs. So you would think that labor participation rate, I mean, you had about 7% of Americans not working at all. So where did it go from 62.9%? Where is it today? 63.3%. It went up 0.4%, not even a half a percentage. But there's Trump going around the world, and Democrats are too fearful and timid to push back on this. But there's much more to the economy. Wage growth. Wage growth is so important. Well, folks, the growth is not nearly as what it was in the 1990s when we had a booming economy. The year-over-year rate of growth of wages, it peaked in February, 3.4%. Now it has slid down to 3.3%. Average wage growth now annually is 3%. Inflation is almost 2%, meaning the average American is seeing a 1% raise. Is that a booming economy? Is a 1% raise that great for you? And I think this is where Democrats can pound Trump, and they should. They should put this in their commercial. December 2017, when Donald Trump was arguing for a tax cut for the wealthy, making it say everyone's going to share in this, the middle class, you're going to see wage increases, every family $4,000 and all that kind of stuff. He talked about how much the GDP would grow, which is a gross domestic product, which is simply a measure of our economy. It's that simple. Here he is, December 2017, bragging, if we give the tax cut for the wealthy and corporation, what is going to result in for the rest of America? Here's Trump about that. Clip number 3, please.
The economy now has hit 3%. Nobody thought it would be anywhere close. I think we can go to 4, 5, and maybe even 6% ultimately.
4, 5, and 6% growth of the GDP. Our economy is going to grow 4, 5, 6%. That was in December 2017 when we had 3% growth. You hear him? 3%. It's doing great. Where are we now? The last quarter? Where are we now? Are we at 4%? Are we at 3%? Are we at 5%? No. We are under 2%. We have slid to 1.9% GDP growth. There's no 3%. There's no 4% like he promised. He has not delivered. And to give you a sense of where we were under Obama, to show you the smoke and mirrors of Trump, that he's out there lying to the American people, saying he's made the economy great. In 2014, for 2 quarters in a row, Obama had 5.5% growth and 5% growth. Numerous quarters, 3%. In fact, if you match his last quarter, that matches up with Trump third quarter of this year versus third quarter of Obama's last year. Trump 1.9%, Obama 2.2%. And here's the worst part. This tax cut for the wealthy that added over $1 trillion to our deficit has not sparked the economy. You know who's seeing the benefits? The wealthy. The GOP donor class. And that's not my words. That's backed up by government statistics. Yes, the Trump administration statistics back this up. The rich get richer while the middle class struggle. The rest of us just fight to make ends meet. In September, the government noted the benefits and this is from the government, from a Trump administration study. Economic growth from the tax cut disproportionately flowed to the Americans with higher incomes. The Congressional Research Service, which is nonpartisan, it's part of the government, they did a study. It just came out in September. They talked about the benefits helping the wealthy. And they talked about it says here, quote, they find none of those secondary effects have materialized, close quotes, which was Trump's secondary effects. We were all going to see our wages go up. We're all going to have new jobs created. It didn't happen. Wages have not grown. This is the CRS report. Wages have not grown, and growth has not increased above the pre-tax trend. That's their exact words. Income inequality now, because of this tax cut, is the worst in 50 years. This is all because of the Trump tax cut. The wealthy have gotten wealthier under Trump. The middle class, you're struggling getting about 1%, literally 1% net income on average. Are there exceptions? I'm sure some have done great, and I wish you the best. I'm not wishing for a recession. I'm not wishing for the economy to stall. I just think the Democrats got to get out there and talk about what's going on. And here's something else. The economy is functioning on borrowed time right now. We're on borrowed time. And I say that because Tuesday, to a little fanfare, because there's so much impeachment coverage, data came out. Consumer confidence. Folks, it has slid last month. That's the fourth month in a row consumer confidence has slid in this country. The fourth in a row. How much have you heard about that in the media? Almost nothing. I don't know why our media does not want to report this. And why this matters and why this is so vital to our economy is with our economic output, the GDP, the biggest component of our economic output as a nation is consumer spending. 70% of the GDP is consumer spending. If consumers continue to be less confident in the economy, they spend less money. What does that in turn mean? The economy slows and slows and slows. Could we hit a recession? You could. It's hard to say what's going to happen. But I can tell you this, the manufacturing section of our economy is formally in a recession. That's undisputed. The consumer confidence and these numbers, they've slid 4 months in a row. I want to make it clear, though, they are not at the point of unbelievable alarm that we're going to recession. They're not recession numbers, but they do show 4 months in a row of slowing consumer confidence, fading. We don't know if it's going to jump or not. But I can tell you this, the New York Federal Reserve just said this week, to no fanfare, because the media doesn't cover this for whatever reason, guess what their prediction is of the fourth quarter GDP growth. And here's Trump again. Let's play this again, reminding everyone what Trump promised December 2017. If Congress passes the tax cut, what it will mean in terms of GDP growth. That's the numbers he talks about, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Here's clip number 3. Remind everyone.
The economy now has hit 3%. Nobody thought it would be anywhere close. I think we can go to 4, 5, and maybe even 6% ultimately.
3, 4, 5, and 6. What are we doing? We're in the midst of the fourth quarter of 2019. New York Federal Reserve just put out their prediction of our economic growth. What do you think it is? Last quarter was 1.8%. This quarter, they're predicting growth of 0.7%, not even 1%. Folks, if that goes below, that goes negative, you do 2 quarters in a row, we're in a recession. That's what a recession is. 2 quarters of negative economic growth, like below zero. We are treading water. We're going to have economic growth of 0.7%. If this is right, things could change. But we are not getting what Trump has promised. And this is what the Democrat, and you might say, well, how does this play out in the election? And here's where it does. Because as we know, the national polls mean nothing. We've learned that from 2016. You've got to look at key states. So I went and I did research to look at the key states from 2016 and obviously for 2020. How are they doing? How is their economy doing? Because it gets local press, but not national. Well, folks, of the 10 closest states in the 2016 election, 4 of them, Wisconsin, Michigan, Minnesota, North Carolina. So these 4 key states, Wisconsin, Michigan, Minnesota, North Carolina, have seen substantial rises in unemployment over the last year. Overall, in more than 1,000 counties across America, or 1 in 3 counties in this country, unemployment is higher today than it was a year ago. That includes all 72 counties in Wisconsin, a very important state, all the counties of New Hampshire, almost all in Michigan, Minnesota, and North Carolina. So while it's not getting national press, unemployment is creeping up in these other states. And we all know there are many people, not all, that have to get 2 and 3 jobs. But we also know something beneath the surface, getting very little reporting, is that their employers, like the recreational vehicle company in Indiana that I've talked about before, instead of laying people off, they've cut them down to 4 days a week. So unemployment's not moving yet, but we're at a precarious situation here. Mark Zandi, chief economist at Moody's, said in an article today, when unemployment is rising, people sense the implications of that. Fewer jobs, smaller pay increases, no bonuses, and maybe layoffs. It's palpable. People feel things are changing, and it makes them nervous. And then today in Politico, Stephen Moore, who you might remember is a Trumpian guy. Trump had nominated him for the Fed board, and he got destroyed, and they had to pull his nomination. Here's what Stephen Moore said. Trump's buddy used to go on CNN defending all the time. This is his word. Stephen Moore today, quote, "If the economy starts to falter in 2020, Trump can't win. There are just too many people who don't like him, but would otherwise vote for him in a good economy," close quotes. That is Stephen Moore saying that. That is a Trump guy saying, if this economy begins to slide more, Trump's going to lose. Look, can Trump win in a recession or even a depression? Sure, anything's possible. And can he lose in a strong economy? Yes, he can, because we've never had a president with these numbers of such low approval rating. I mean, this Reuters poll that came out that I'm reading from earlier in the show, his approval rating is down to 42% there. And the number of people supporting impeachment has creeped up in that poll. I'm not rooting for a recession. We are not on the doorstep of a recession. We are clearly slowing as an economy. And my point is, I want the Democrats, the 2020 Democrats, to not see the economy anymore. Because there's Trump going literally around the world. In Afghanistan yesterday, national media coverage, the economy is the best it is. And we don't hear the Democrats, almost any of them, address the economy. They've ceded this issue. You know, in politics, you go at your opponent's strongest place they have. You go after their biggest asset. That's what you must do. Democrats have to take the fight to him on the economy and make it clear. First of all, the economy is slowing. And where is that promise? We gave a tax cut to the wealthy and corporations. And you promised us and play that clip over and over. 4%, 5%, 6%. We're down to 1.8% growth. And we're about to slide to below 1% growth. Where are the big Trump promised everyone big wage increases? We are a net increase this year of 1% of the average American worker, 1% increase. Is that good enough? No. The Democrats have to make the case beyond that, though, about how they're going to raise our wages, how they're going to make the economy go further. One is nationally raise the minimum wage across the nation. That helps everybody. Secondly, began to champion the things like the Green New Deal, which is a way of creating jobs at the very least. Talk about funding for education so that people can go back to school and get better jobs. That's a whole bunch of things. And secondly, the health care. Health care is a no-brainer. Democrats on the trail should be talking about health care every day, night and day, over and over and over. Americans trust us by far with the issue. Trump is in federal court trying to take away you and your family's coverage for prison health care, to drop your kids from the policy, to drop you when you're sick, to put caps on policies, to charge women more just for being a woman than a man. That's all pre-ACA. That's what Trump's arguing for, and he's got no backup plan. I want to hear Democrats say that every day. That's a winner. At least in my view, it's a winner. But I want to hear from you. Look, I know people are shopping, you're in cars, whatever. Give me a call. What do you think about Democrats taking the fight on the economy? And also, what are you seeing? We did this like a month ago, and I learned so much from listeners. What you're seeing where you live, in your neighborhood, about the economy. If it's fine, it's fine. I'm not trying to make you say it's bad. But if you live in especially one of these key states, what are you seeing? Are things going along smoothly? Is there a slowdown? Is there a sense of anxiety and concern? Do people talk about the economy for the future? And what about healthcare? The idea of making Democrats take first a fight to Trump on healthcare, fight to Trump on the economy. You got to do it, because if you see the economy to him, you lose. There's no way you can win by just running on Trump as a bigot and a racist and a white supremacist. He is. We got to talk about real issues that affect their kitchen table and their lives. And I think you do that with a bold Democrat with a real vision of transformative nature for this nation over time. But you got to take on these issues. So I want to hear from you. 866-997-4748. 866-997-4748. You're my guest right at the top of the hour. What do you think about the economy? How is the economy where you live? It doesn't have to be about politics. I just love to hear, how is it? Are you out shopping today? Are the stores crowded? Are they not crowded? I went to some stores by me. One was crowded. Bed Bath & Beyond was crowded. The other department store was not that crowded. And I said to the sales guy, how's it going? He goes, kind of slow. Does that mean people are buying online? Possibly. I'm not sure. But how's it going by you? 866-997-4748. You're my guest. Be right back after this.
Dean Obadala Show on Sirius XM Progress 127.